And the protests continue. Human rights organization #Africa for Palestine says it welcomes an historic resolution on Israel that's been announced by the Muslim Judicial Council's Halal Trust. The MJCHT has decided to decline, refuse and not certify any goods or services emanating from Israel and to boycott all Israeli companies and products. Tonight we explore what this means practically and what impact it is likely to have. Africa for Palestine Director Muhammed Desai joins us now. Muhammed, good evening. Let's start with a quick explanation on who the MJCHT is and why this is such a big move.
So thank you very much, Iman. The Muslim Judicial Council's Halal Trust is a certification body, one of the largest in the country. Companies and corporations that want to sell their products within South Africa and market it to the Muslim community often go to these certification bodies to get a compliance certificate stating that the product is halal. Halal basically meaning that it does not have pork or alcohol in that product. The certification body can be compared to another sort of compliance body, such as those that issue certificates to say that a certain product is gluten-free or sugar-free or animal cruelty-free. This is the role of the MJC Halal Trust.
Okay, so let's go quickly to this explainer. The possession of a halal certificate isn't mandatory, Muhammad, but generally practicing Muslims or observant Muslims will not purchase a product that does not have that approval, correct?
Absolutely. So so to get the compliance certificate would be a voluntary act. However, in the virtual majority of cases, the Muslim community would generally not buy a product that doesn't have a halal certificate. It wouldn't frequent a restaurant that hasn't been certified by a halal authorization body.
So ostensibly, that's what it means by the decline and refusal of services. You're talking then about establishments where people might go to eat.
It's restaurants, coffee shops across the board, as well as consumer products, milk, cheese, sweet products, and various, virtually any other food product that may want to be marketed to the Muslim community or to the Muslim populations.
So for somebody who doesn't understand this, there might be many people who are not even aware that you need a halal certificate. One understands those service providers, people who own establishments would be more aware of this because it affects their business. But give us a sense of how widespread or how prolific these certificates are, and also in doing so, talk to us about how many authority bodies there are in the country that make these compliance certificates or are responsible for issuing these compliance certificates.
Within South Africa, there are about 3 or 4 major certification bodies, and they would be contracted from your major chains like KFC, Chicken Licken, McDonald's, various Nando's, various other companies at that level, but also most independent restaurants as well would be seeking this certification. When it comes to consumer products, from companies such as Clover or to All Joy tomato sauce products, to Knorr soup, all of these companies would be approaching the certification bodies in order to get these compliance certificates before marketing their products within a store.
All right, so you've mentioned a few that we would all know. I mean, Clover, everybody knows, and now that we've mentioned them specifically, we will probably issue an opportunity for them to respond to what this potential impact could be. But when we talk about making an impact, so we talk about it in rand terms, but we also talk about how many other, Israeli products exist in South Africa. A lot of people may not be aware of that. So what are we talking about?
So the boycott and the isolation campaign of Israel was launched just about 15 years ago, and it has had major and significant victories and successes, both within South Africa but also internationally. And I'll just share 2 examples. The one is within our own country. Our foreign exports to Israel, just one example, between July 2022 and July 2023 has dropped by 87%. Our imports from Israel has dropped by between July 2022 and July 2023 2023 by 18.3%. We are having an impact at a financial and economic level. The boycott campaign is not just a symbolic act, it's not just an ethical position, because as we are seeing this sort of violence being unleashed by the Israeli regime, people will resort to an ethical boycott, a principled boycott, but it's also about a political campaign. Just a few years ago, the United Nations issued a report documenting how Israel lost 46% in foreign direct investment as a direct consequence of the international boycott against that state. And so the idea of the isolation campaign, the boycott campaign, is really to, one, send a signal to Israel that there is no normal trade with an abnormal state, but it's also about leveraging it's also about isolating Israel in order for it to come to the negotiating table, similarly to how apartheid South Africa was drawn to the negotiating table.
Right, quick one. And I'm just taking this off the top of my head, so I'm hoping that I'm accurate on this. Israel is South Africa's largest trading partner on the continent. So then the logical question is, this particular action, how much of a monetary impact is it likely to have? I mean, I know that you've shared some percentages with us, but what is the expectation here?
Whilst Israel is trying its checkbook diplomacy in other countries, it does have an old economic relationship with South Africa, because in the 1980s, of course, apartheid South Africa and Israel had this very close collaboration. But this economic relationship, as I've explained, has been decreasing. Between 1997 till 2022, it has decreased at an annual rate of 1.5% year on year. So this is a kind of trend that we are seeing. Whilst we may be one of the larger countries within the African continent to be trading with Israel, that amount that we are trading in is increasingly shrinking. And it's shrinking, we argue, as an advocacy organization, as a result of a multi-pronged approach. One, our own government downgrading relations with Israel sends a very clear message to our own businesses within our country that it's an abnormal state that you're wanting to engage with if you are wanting to approach Israeli companies and corporations. It's also been impacted by the decision, for example, by the MJCHT Halal Trust. These combined impacts within the solidarity movement is what's contributing to this decline of trade with Israel and of its isolation from within the international community.
Muhammed Desai, thank you for talking to us tonight. We appreciate just sharing with us your perspective on this ban now. The Halal certification body, the MJCHT, issuing these restrictions on Israeli-sourced products and services. Muhammed Desai is the Director of Africa for Palestine.